is Melissa, and I'm with House of Vine Studio. Today I'm going to be showing you a tutorial for my Vintage Vinyls Quilt pattern. In particular, we're going to be looking at the half record block that's featured in the baby and the standard version of the quilt, and also the half records that make up the full record that is featured in all three quilts. An example behind me is of this large one. This is the two halves put together to make a full record block. So I will be showing you how to assemble that today. Don't be nervous. I will be showing you and giving you tips on all of the curves and also tips on trimming and final piecing of it all. So join me on my at my sewing table, and let's get started. All right, so now that we are down at the mat, let's take a look at the pieces that we need to make the full record block and the standard half record block for the throw and the baby. So you're gonna need your rotary cutter. You'll have already cut out template 3 label. You'll put those to the side. You'll have cut out template 1 out of color B for your record. And we'll have our 11 1/4 inch squares, which will be the background to our records. And you'll need your template 2 ready to cut out of the background. The template 2, I've cut mine out of template plastic, but you could also do cardboard or heavy cardstock. And I am gonna cut directly around my template, but you can also trace and use scissors to cut out if that makes you more comfortable. At the end, we'll be trimming our records down to 10 1/2, so I have my 10 1/2 inch ruler. It's not necessary, you just need to be able to trim it down, so you'll need something that's a little bit bigger than 10 1/2, at least in one direction. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that I am going to do is take my 11 1/4 inch background fabric, and I am going to fold it in half, make a crease with my fingers to find the center. I'm going to do this with both of them. I'm making 2 so that I can show you what the final large block record looks like in all the quilts. All right, so we're going to put that to the side. Now I'm going to take template 2, and I made a mark in the middle of my template, so I measured to find the center. And then you are going to line up that mark with your crease. And like I said, I cut directly out, so I'm going to make sure that template's lined up correctly. I'm going to take my rotary cutter, and I am just going to cut around my template. And then I'm going to, that did not work. All right, so I'm going to cut around my template. And then I'm going to keep this background piece, and I'm going to put in the scrap pile the half circle. So we've got one. I'm going to put that to the side for a moment, and I'm going to take my other piece, and I'm going to take my template, and I'm going to line it up as well. I'm going to take my rotary cutter again and just carefully go around it. And then again, put my half circle in the scraps because we won't need it. And now you have 2 backgrounds, which would make 2 half record blocks or 1 full record block that's featured in all 3 quilts. So let's go to the machine and I will show you now how to sew the half record block, your record onto your background. So grab your record piece and your background and let's go to the machine. Okay, so now we're at the sewing machine and I'm gonna, since we have two of these, I'm gonna show you two different ways to sew your curves in. First, I'm gonna show you using pens. So we're going to first take your fabric again, make a crease here so you can find the center. And you're also gonna take your record and make a crease. And then we're going to line up our two creases. We're going to put a pen. And we're going to take the end. I'm going to put a pen there. And then I like to come to the beginning part and put a pen a little bit in. Okay, so let me get my machine turned on. We're going to get that all lined up. Get our needle down. And we're going to slowly sew. And as you sew, you're going to flatten out this bottom fabric. So the background fabric you want to make sure is always along your 1/4 inch foot. And you're going to be constantly just making sure it is flat and smooth, and the same with the top. So let's go slowly along. I'm gonna consistently just smoothing out that bottom fabric and getting that lined up on the top. Making sure I keep that 1/4 inch seam consistent throughout. Take your time. There's no rush on these. You'll get faster as you do more of them. And then at the end, you want to make sure that this is lined up. I'm going to come in and kind of smooth out this fabric underneath. It's lined up and straight at the end of the hand. See, cannot see that. I am going to press it, and then we'll take it back to the mat to trim. But before that, I'm going to show you how to take the last background fabric, and we're going to take the other record. We're not going to do anything with it. Okay, so we're going to take our second 11 1/4 background and our other record, and we're not going to use pens this time. We are going to do it without pens. So we're going to line up corners like so. They're lined up here. And we're going to come to the machine. We're going to put the pin in. And just another reminder, like we did last time, we are going to keep this 1/4 inch foot guiding along the background. We're going to go slowly and smooth everything out as we go. You see just a couple. Continuing to constantly smooth everything out. Line everything up. It'll go a little faster. You still want to take your time, making sure the 1/4 inch mark is lining up with that background. When you get closer to the end, you're going to take that end and flip it like we did with that other one. Make sure it's all straightened out and smooth underneath, as smooth as you can get it. Finish. Okay. Now I'm going to take both of these to the iron. I'm going to press them with the seam going out. Even though this is the lighter side, it will help smooth out your curve to press the seam away from the record. And then I'm going to show you how to trim. Okay, so we have the two blocks. We ironed them away from the template. That helps to smooth out the curve. You'll see this is the one that I did without pins. It's very smooth. It matched up. And then this is the one I did with pins, which is a little off, but I'm still okay with it. What you're going to do next, it's going to be a little wonky at the end. You're going to fold it in half, form a crease, find the middle. And you're going to take your ruler, line up the middle, and you're going to even off the edge. I had filmed this, thought I was filming this earlier, and it was a photograph, so I apologize that it has already been trimmed, but you'll see I trimmed about this, hard to tell, about this much off. I gave you plenty of trimming room. So you're going to do that on both, even out the bottom, and then you're going to find the crease, and you're going to take template 4. And with template 4, you're going to do the same thing that you did with the other template. You're going to fold this in half. You're going to find the middle crease and use your rotary cutter. And you're going to cut around. Use your rotary cutter and cut around the template. You're going to do that for both. And then I'm going to take both of these backgrounds, which would be either half circles or the full circle, and I'm going to take the labels that are already cut, and I'm going to show you on the machine how to sew them without pins. I've done it both ways and have found that sewing without pins makes it a little less wonky and seems to be easier to manage in the machine. So let's get over to the machine and I'll show you how to sew the labels on here. Okay, so we're going to take the background piece with the record, and we're going to take the label, We're going to line it up just the same way we lined up the larger record. And we're going to put it under the machine and get the needle in. Again, we're going to keep that 1/4 inch mark along the record. And we'll be going slowly so that we can make sure everything's smoothed out as we go. So let's get started. And you just adjust it as you go. It is a very tiny circle, and it may come out a little wonky at the end, but again, I gave you trimming room, so you should be okay. Let's make sure we're continuing to adjust slowly as we go. And then as we come closer to the end, we're going to, well, let's fix that. Going to meet this end up at that end. So we're going to make sure that they line up. We are going to smooth them out the best we can and get that flat with it as we can. You'll see that we have it right there, and we will press again away from the label to help kind of smooth out that circle. So let's do one more. I'll show you one more time. I'm going to take the other one. We're going to line this up, this corner, put it over here, put the needle in, and we're going to work our way through. Towards the end, I'm going to line up our 2 ends and smooth them out as best we can. Okay, we've got another great label. We're going to go press and then bring it to the table, and I'll show you how to trim it. Okay, so now we have the labels in, and again, we are going to fold these in half so we can help find the center. And at this point, we are going to trim these down to 10.5 by 10.5 because that is what the final half circle is going to be, and also what the 2 halves need to be for the final full record block. There we go. So I have it, the 10.5 ruler laid out, centered. Make sure the bottom's lined up best I can. So you are going to trim some off, but you have plenty of room to do that. And then I'm going to cut around here. Rotate it. Maybe one day I'll get that. Okay, get those sides, and then I'm actually going to rotate this. All lined up. Got it all correctly. And then I'll just trim this bottom part off. Okay, I'm going to do that. Now you see how it's all even. I'll put that for my machine. Again, I'm going to fold in half, making sure seams look centered. The middle is creased. And then I'm going to line up my center mark, which is going to be 5 1/4 to get that 10.5 inch square lined up, so I can make sure I get the bottom flat. I'm going to cut around those pieces. I'm going to rotate it around. Lining those pieces sides up. That's in the center. Okay, and then I'm going to cut this side and cut that side. All right, so if you're doing the baby and the standard, the majority of the blocks are going to be these half blocks, and they're going to line up with a sleeve block at the bottom. All 3 blocks, though, have a full record block. The baby has 2. The throws have 3. So you're actually going to be taking these 11 1/4, now trimmed down to 10 1/2 inch squares, and we are going to pin them and sew them on the machine. So I am going to go pin them right now, sew it, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. So now that you've got it pinned and sewn, now the full record block is done for the 3 quilts. Make sure that you're very careful in lining up all of the seams and making sure you can always go back and unsew and kind of readjust if needed. I will say that the curves may feel intimidating, but they aren't. I know that everyone can do it. My testers who tested the quilt, a lot of them had never done curves, and they did a great job. So I think that the quilt is also forgiving if your blocks come out wonky a little bit. Once it's all quilted, it's going to look great. So anyway, this is the standard and baby half record block, and then the full record block for all 3. So I hope this tutorial helped, and that you will feel more confident making these record blocks. I hope you had as much fun as I did assembling the full record block for my Vintage Vinyls quilt. Thank you, and I hope that you had a great time. I can't wait to see your version of Vintage Vinyls. So remember to tag me in social media so that I can see it, or feel free to email me and share a picture with me. Thanks so much. Have a great day.